What I want to show you is that Jeffrey Epstein is one of the operators of the system. He works for the Rothschilds. Bill Gates, at once, before the wealthiest man in the world, he was begging Jeff Epstein for money. So now what I want to discuss is the problems of the system. All right? And once you understand the problems of the system, then we can understand why this war in Iran is happening, where it's going, and what this means for the world, okay? So there's certain problems with the system I want you to notice. The first major problem is all this is based on empire, the perception of empire. And what this means is that everyone has to believe that the American empire is invincible. It cannot be defeated for the system to work, right? Once people start to believe that there are alternatives, that the empire is weak, then the system cannot work. And so therefore, the only solution to this problem is America has to go fight wars for no reason. You understand? It's like being the school bully, right? People pay you money because they think that you're a bully and you are not reasonable. And so to prove that, every now and then you have to go beat another kid for no reason, okay? You're just smack the kid and everyone's afraid of you. That's America. And this helps us explain all these wars in the Middle East these past 20 years, right? Why did America invade Afghanistan? Why did America invade Iraq? Why did it blow up Syria? Why did it blow up Libya? Why are they attacking Iran? To prove to the world that I'm still the biggest, baddest bully on the block, so you better obey me or I'll come beat you up, okay? All right. So, that's the first problem. Second problem is that the system, as you can see, is really, really unfair to a lot of countries. Iran, North Korea, Russia specifically. Okay? So this helps us understand why Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. Because they're trying to renegotiate the system. Right? Because right now, the system is discriminating against them. It's extracting their resources for very little money. So they want to renegotiate the system. And the way you renegotiate the system is by showing the empire is not so tough, right? And this also shows us why America refuses to surrender Ukraine. This war was lost about 2 years ago, okay? Ukraine has absolutely no chance. Why is this war continuing? Because if the perception that empire is weak, that empire can be defeated, if that perception, if people are aware of this entire edifice collapses, okay? Right? People wake up and see it's all shadows on the wall. So America has no choice but to keep on fighting. Okay? And this helps us also explain why America invaded Iran. To show Russia, I'm still the biggest, baddest bully. And now we understand what Iran is doing. Iran is now attacking this entire edifice. If you think about it, what Iran recognizes is this. I cannot attack empire directly. Okay, it's too powerful. They have nuclear weapons. I'm not going to attack the education, media, cultural system of America because it's too embedded. I can't attack the UN and WTO because it's all being controlled by America. So the only thing I can attack is what? The global economy, right? That's why they closed out the Strait of Hormuz. Because once they put pressure on the global economy, and that's all interconnected, it destroys the entire edifice. Do you understand? It is a house of cards. You find the weak point, you hit it, so it all collapses. Okay? And that's why Iran is doing what it's doing. And what this also tells us is this. There can be no ceasefire. There can be no truce. There can be no peace. Because both the American empire and Iran are fighting for the nature and structure of reality itself. All right? And the third thing I want you guys to be aware of is this. Remember in Plato's allegory of the cave, they really don't have to do anything because the prisoners themselves want to protect the system. Well, this is true as well. Where if you are in education, media, and culture, and you are at the very top, you are not in power, but you benefit from the system. And therefore, you insist on protecting the system at all costs. And these people, of course, are called the boomers, okay? Okay, not all of them, okay? But the elite of the boomers, even though they themselves don't have that much power, there's a lot of them, okay? And they will fight, they will make their politicians and the military fight to the death to maintain the illusion of the empire, which benefits them. All right? Again, Plato's allegory of the cave. Okay. All right. Now we can answer all three questions. Why did this war start? Because America had no choice in the matter, okay? It had to defend the illusion that the American empire was invincible. Otherwise, this entire edifice would collapse, okay? When will this war end? This war ends when the global economy is destroyed. Because once the global economy is destroyed, this entire edifice collapses, okay? And what will happen after this war? Well, a new world will emerge where there are different spheres of influence, okay? But we'll discuss this later on. But I first introduce to you the big structure of what's going on, okay? All right. So now what I want to do is I want to go more into the structure of this world, okay? This. What I want to show you is that Jeffrey Epstein is one of the operators of the system. He works for the Rothschilds, as well as secret societies, as well as structural capital, and he is embedded in science, crime, and intelligence, okay? And again, the evidence is something called the Epstein Files. All right, so let's look at the Epstein Files. So this is Jeffrey Epstein, and this is Donald Trump. All right, Jeffrey Epstein died in 2019 in a federal prison, and he was being charged with many crimes, and the FBI ran an investigation into him. And just recently, the United States, called the Department of Justice, the DOJ, on their website, they released about 3 million documents pertaining to the Epstein investigation. And a lot of these are emails. And what you discover is that he knows everyone who's powerful in the world. So for the longest time, it was believed that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent. Okay? And his job was to lure powerful Americans such as Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, to his island called Epstein Island, where he would film them engage in compromising activities. And then he would blackmail them. Okay? And that was for the longest time what people understood to be Jeffrey Epstein's role. But then when you look at the email, what you recognize is that, no, actually, that's what he did for fun. Actually, he made most of his money in arms trafficking and in money laundering. Also, Bill Gates wasn't going to Epstein Island to give Jeffrey Epstein money. Jeffrey Epstein, he went to ask for money. Think about this, okay? Bill Gates, before the wealthiest man in the world, he was begging Jeff Epstein for money. Think about that, all right? Okay, so let us look at who he is. Okay, this is Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel, as you know, is one of the wealthiest men in America. And Peter Thiel and Jeffrey Epstein are arranging a time to meet. Again, it is not Jeffrey Epstein is seeking these guys out. They're seeking him out, okay? Elon Musk, the wealthiest man in the world, he's actually trying to arrange an appointment with Jeffrey Epstein. All right, why? Because Jeffrey Epstein says, I represent the Rothschilds. All right? Your money is fake. Your money is stock market money. Your money is an illusion. I represent real money, real power, real wealth. Okay? All right. The Rothschild. All right. So Jeffrey Epstein is very close with the Rothschild family. Why? Well, this is Irena de Rothschild, one of the members of the Rothschild family, okay? And in December 2018, okay, this is a year before he dies, all right? Jeffrey Epstein sends Irena de Rothschild an email saying, hey, let me tell you something really funny. Harvard is saying that when he was poor, he lived in a home, a charity home, that was financed by 3 wealthy families who are Jewish. And who are these 3 wealthy families? They're the Rothschilds, right? Then there are the Epsteins, me, and the Gutmans. So these 3 families, Rothschilds, Epsteins, and Gutmans, go back centuries. All right? So Epstein is a member of one of the most powerful families in the world. All right? Now, Irena de Rothschild responds and says, oh, it's just a conspiracy, right? It's just saying that the Jews created. And Epstein gets angry at her and says, no, it's 100% true, man. Selling his clothes and already living in a shelter funded by Jews. Epstein, Rothschild, Gutman. No conspiracy. It's really true, okay? The Epsteins, who are we? We're the Vienna bankers, all right? We've been around for the longest time. You Rothschilds think you're powerful? Well, we're powerful too. All right, let's continue. All right, so the FBI is running an investigation on Jeffrey Epstein, and they created a file on him. And there's a confidential human source, a spy basically, who they recruit to tell them who Jeffrey Epstein is and what his network is. And the FBI is sort of blown away by what they discover. In 2008, Epstein was arrested in Florida for doing inappropriate behavior, okay? And Honduras comes in and says, hey, you can't arrest this guy because he works for intelligence. Actually, the truth of the matter is intelligence works for him. So here it says that Epstein worked for Mossad. That's not true, okay? All right, so you look at Epstein's life. He actually started his career at Dalton. Dalton is one of the most prestigious elite schools in America. That's where all the most powerful, wealthiest families send their children, okay? He was hired as a teacher. Then he went to work for Bear Stearns, which is a financial firm. And there he learned finance. But then he went to work for Doug Leese. Who is Doug Leese? Doug Leese is an arms trafficker involved with Iran-Contra, okay? So he's one of the biggest global arms traffickers in the world. And then he started to work for Barack, who is the prime minister or the former prime minister of Israel, all right? So you're like, everyone's like, oh, well, it's because he sucks everything. And that's why he was being moved from one place to another, okay? But another way of saying this is he's an operative. And he's being trained in how power works by mentors. Does that make sense? Let's just say I have a big company, right? And I'm a chairman. My son is going to inherit this company. How do I train him to be a good boss? Well, I have him work in different departments of the company, and I have mentors train him in these different departments, right? So what is Dalton? Dalton is education, right? What is Bear Stearns? Finance. What is Doug Leese? He is criminal, arms trafficking. And who is Barack? He is intelligence, right? Does that make sense, guys? He's being trained, mentored in the different sectors of power in the world. So Epstein was connected with Vladimir Putin, all right? Let's read the last section. This is most important, okay? So remember, last class, I showed you a video of Netanyahu approaching a rabbi called Rabbi Sneerson and saying, will you give me your blessing? And Sneerson says, yes, I will. And please hurry up and make the Messiah come. So it's all interconnected, okay? Netanyahu, Sneerson, the Trump family, Putin. And it's all connected through Shabbat Lubavitch and Jeffrey Epstein, okay? This is it. The FBI did an investigation. What they discovered is that Jeffrey Epstein and Jared Kushner are both part of this transnational network that's able to co-opt different nation states, including Russia, including America. And they're all connected to this other transnational religious organization called the Shabbat Lubavitch. And their leader is Rabbi Sneerson. It's all one big network, all right? And let's look at this. Okay, this is a report, a secret government report. What happened was that when Americans went into Afghanistan, the British went in too. And Prince Andrew, who is the brother to the king, asked the British government to investigate investment opportunities in Afghanistan. So this is the British government. And so whatever they report has to be confidential. It's basically state secret. And this report tells Prince Andrew where's the best place to invest in Afghanistan. And what does Prince Andrew do? He emails it directly to Jeffrey Epstein. You think these guys work for the government, Prince Andrew? No. They work for Jeffrey Epstein, who works for the Rothschilds. All right. This is Libya. All right. So in February 2011, okay, this is July 2011, America starts bombing Libya, and it seems as though Gaddafi will fall. And already Jeffrey Epstein and his friends are discussing how to make money out of this, right? Because they know that Libya has many assets frozen in American banks. So once a new government comes into place, then this new government will want the money back, right? And Jeffrey Epstein and his friends are like, let's do this for them and get a commission. These are parasites. They look at geopolitics and they're like, how can we take advantage of geopolitical advantage to make the most money for ourselves? All right? And you're like, okay, well, Jeffrey Epstein is gone. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. So something else I want to discuss with you is Bitcoin. Okay. So this is a Guardian article that shows that Jeffrey Epstein was helping to finance the development of Bitcoin. All right. But not only that, I want to show you this picture. This happened in 2004 at Harvard. Okay. This is Larry Summers, who is the president of Harvard University. This is Steven Pinker, one of Harvard's most famous scholars. And this guy is Jeffrey Epstein, all right? Who's paying for this dinner? Probably Jeffrey Epstein. And you're like, what is happening here? And again, I keep on telling you guys this. You think academia is about pursuing truth, doing research. No, it's not. It's about protecting and justifying the status quo. It's about providing a network for powerful people to meet together and to work together, okay? And the Jeffrey Epstein Files reveals this, how corrupt academia and science are. It's all part of this huge transnational network. Right? This grand alliance between science, crime, and intelligence in order to extract as much value from the world as possible, okay? These are parasites. And you're like, okay, how about Jared Kushner? Well, Jared Kushner's doing the same thing, guys, okay? This is Jared Kushner, right? Who's this guy? Vladimir Putin. What are they doing? They're discussing peace in Ukraine. Because what Jared Kushner is saying to Putin is, listen, I can negotiate. Okay, I'm speculating, okay? I don't know, okay? But I imagine he's a real estate developer. So he's saying to Putin, hey, after this peace treaty happens between Ukraine and Russia, Ukraine will need to be redeveloped. So you should give opportunities to, okay? Okay, so that's Russia. Then you go to Iran. This is Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, and the Omani foreign minister. And before the attack against Iran happened, there were these peace negotiations between the Iranians and Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, who represent the Americans. So this guy, Steve Witkoff, during the negotiations, went on TV and said that, oh, the Iranians are trying to create and they're trying to enrich weapons-grade uranium as soon as possible, okay? What Steve Witkoff is doing is he's sabotaging the peace negotiations. These guys are negotiating with the Iranians not to create a peace treaty, but to create a justification for war. All right? Oh, and also, this is Jared Kushner. Sorry. Oh, crap. All right. This is Jared Kushner. This is Steve Witkoff. And this is Benjamin Netanyahu. What are they doing? They're discussing peace in Gaza. Why? Because after peace happens in Gaza, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are going to lead a real estate team to develop Gaza into these luxury villas, guys. Okay? This is how the world works. All right? But again, there's a problem with the system. All right? So, okay, well, this is the way the world works. Now, the question then is, okay, if this is the way the world works, and Jeffrey Epstein, Jared Kushner, and others are the real power in the world, and they represent the elite, how do we know this? Why is it that you can go on the Department of Justice and look at all these things? Well, because there's a problem with this system. And it's this. This system is a parasite, right? So they are extracting value from the nation state. So other elites are asking themselves, why can they be the parasites, but not us, right? So what's happening is a civil war between the elite, these people, and the counter-elite. People who want to take the position and become the parasites, okay? And that's why we're seeing this conflict right now emerge in America.